You ever get that feeling like maybe you've missed your chance, that the ship has already sailed, and the best years to build something are behind you? Well, let me tell you something I've never said publicly before. I almost quit SpaceX in my 30s, not because of rockets, but because of exhaustion, mental, emotional. Everyone said I was done, and maybe I believed them for a second. But that moment, that exact second when I felt I had nothing left, that's when I realized something that changed my entire life. And if you hear this now, it might change yours too. Listen, I started Zip2 when I was 24, and I was sleeping on the floor in the office, not because I wanted to prove something, but because I had no money for an apartment. When I started SpaceX, I was 31, Tesla, 32. But let's be very clear, starting early didn't make anything easier. Because success isn't about when you start, it's about how many times you're willing to restart. A lot of people think they're too old, but the truth is, they've just been told too often that they missed it. They're not too late, they're just surrounded by people who quit too soon. When the Falcon 1 rocket exploded for the third time, I had one rocket left. One. And I remember thinking, if this fails, it's over. Not just the company, I'm over. I had every reason to quit. I was in debt, Tesla was bleeding. But here's something nobody tells you. Your greatest breakthrough often happens one decision after your biggest failure. A lot of people don't know this, but at that point, I had to borrow money just to pay rent. Literally. I was borrowing from friends while running two of the most talked about startups on the planet. If you're listening right now and you feel like you failed, good. That means you're close. If you weren't pushing limits, you wouldn't even know where the failure line was. By the way, I want to know where you're listening from. Are you in New York, Melbourne, Barcelona? Drop it in the comments right now. And if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't. That way I know you appreciate what I do here. Look, I'm going to say something brutally honest. Age is not stopping you, fear is. I've met 35-year-olds too scared to take risks, and 70-year-olds who are just getting started. If you look at Colonel Sanders, KFC, he started that in his 60s. You think he had special advantages? He was broke, rejected 1,000 times, but he made a choice most people don't. He kept going, and that's the rarest trait in the world. Most people spend their lives thinking they're waiting for the right time, but what if the right time was always the moment you decide to move anyway? I want to tell you something that I've never said on camera. The moment I almost gave up on building rockets, that's when I realized a truth so powerful. I actually wrote it down and carry it with me to this day. But I'll tell you what it was towards the end of this video. Because first, we need to go somewhere deeper. We're going to talk about what's really stopping most people from achieving anything. And it has nothing to do with age, money, or time. It's something hidden, silent. But it's the reason people settle, procrastinate, and never finish. And if we don't face it, no strategy will ever work. You can have the skills, the idea, even the money. But if you don't overcome this one thing, you will never finish. I've seen it destroy brilliant engineers, incredible founders, and ordinary people with extraordinary ideas. It almost destroyed me. Most people think the enemy is procrastination, or bad habits, or not having enough time. It's not the real enemy. Internal resistance, that invisible force that kicks in right when you're about to begin. And what's wild is it doesn't get weaker as you get older. It often gets stronger, especially when you've been told no a few dozen times. There were nights when I stared at the ceiling knowing what I needed to do and still couldn't move. Not because I didn't care, but because of what was happening inside. That resistance, it whispers, you're not good enough. It's too late now. You're too old to start over. People assume because I've started multiple companies, I don't feel that anymore. That's not true. I feel it before every launch, before every big product release, even before recording certain interviews. And what I've realized is the presence of fear is not the problem. The problem is believing fear equals truth. At Tesla, when we were weeks away from bankruptcy in 2008, I was scared every single day. I just didn't let the fear make the final decision. That's all. I felt it, but I moved anyway. So let me ask you this. What if you avoided starting not because you can't, but because you might fail? Think about it. That business, that book, that trip, that retirement plan you keep pushing off, is it actually impossible? Or is it just uncomfortable? Because if it's uncomfortable, then you're in the right place. Growth is uncomfortable. If it wasn't, everyone would be doing it. Here's a pattern I've noticed. and it's going to hit hard for some of you. Most people stop trying not because they run out of time, but because they run out of permission. They stop giving themselves permission to fail, to be a beginner again, to look silly, to try something new. I've met 55-year-olds with more courage than 25-year-olds. Why? Because somewhere along the line, they realized the cost of staying stuck is higher than the cost of starting over. Here's the trap. Accumulated identity. I'm an accountant. I'm a teacher. I've always been this kind of person. And then they use that identity as a prison. But who said you can't be more than one thing in a lifetime? Look, I went from software to rockets to cars to AI to brain interfaces. Not because I had a map, but because I didn't let the old version of me decide what the next one could do. Earlier, I told you there was something I wrote down the night I almost gave up on SpaceX. That one sentence, that changed everything. I still haven't shared it yet. Because first, I want to walk you through something even more critical, the exact habits that either build or break the momentum of your life. I'm going to give you the daily patterns that I've used for over 2 decades, through every company, every burnout, every breakthrough. Simple, repeatable, and they work no matter your age. You can have a dream, a goal, a powerful vision, but if your daily patterns contradict it, you will sabotage yourself, not because you're weak, but because your system isn't built for what you're trying to become. I'll be honest with you, people always ask me how I stay motivated. The answer is, I don't. Motivation is unreliable. What you need is a system that survives your bad days. At Tesla, SpaceX, even when I was sleeping on the floor at the Fremont factory, it wasn't motivation keeping things going. It was routines, ruthless consistency. I told myself, it doesn't matter how I feel, it matters what I build. Your future is built by routines, not by moods. Here's something I've never said in a TED Talk. I structure my time in 5-minute blocks. Every slot in my calendar, even brushing teeth, is planned. Not because I like being controlled, but because the alternative is chaos. Chaos is expensive. When you're building rockets or anything that matters, time is your oxygen. Try it for just one day. Use a piece of paper or a simple app. Break your next 6 hours into 5-minute windows. Don't judge what you see, just observe. You'll start to realize where your focus leaks and where you're letting the day own you instead of the other way around. We lie to ourselves with the phrase, I'll do it later. That phrase has probably destroyed more inventions than any critic or failure ever has. And I get it. I used to say it too, until I realized that later is code for never in most people's lives. One of the reasons I pushed the Tesla Model S team so hard, often to exhaustion, is because later would have meant never. We were days away from collapse. And I told them, we launch now or we die trying. There's no second window. That's the truth in life too. The window doesn't stay open. You either move when it's cracked, or you watch it close from the outside. If you're 48, or 63, or 72, and you feel stuck, don't start with positive thinking. Start with positive mechanics. Your identity shifts when your actions shift. You want to feel like a writer? Write 200 words. You want to feel like a business owner? Build something and sell it. Identity isn't created in your head. It's proven in repetition. One block of focused action at a time. Let me ask you directly, what do you do in the first hour of your morning? Drop it in the comments. Wherever you're listening from, tell me what your morning looks like, because I want to challenge it. I want to show you how to rebuild your day from the inside out using something I call time anchoring. But first, write down your current truth. Most people's mornings are sabotaging their lives before 9 a.m. There was a period during the Falcon 1 failures where I thought about quitting space entirely. I was down to my last $40 million. It wasn't enough for both SpaceX and Tesla. Most people said I should pick one, but I didn't. I split the money, not because it was logical, but because it was mission aligned. I wasn't building for comfort, I was building for impact. When your habits align with your mission, you don't need motivation. So you have purpose, and purpose moves through walls. I'm going to walk you through the exact way I design my mornings and how you can use the same framework at any age to build clarity, drive, and momentum, even if you've never been a morning person. What I'll show you next is used by astronauts, engineers, and even my mom, who's 77 and building her best chapter yet. You don't want to miss this. Let me be honest. If your mornings are chaotic, reactive, noisy, your life will mirror that. And I don't care how old you are, 28 or 78, the first hour of your day is like the launch pad for everything else. If you design it intentionally, you'll feel like you're building a rocket every morning. If you don't, you'll feel like you're crawling through someone else's noise. I wake up around 7 a.m. First thing, I don't touch my phone. That was a mistake I made for years. I'd check Twitter, emails, Slack, and start the day in panic mode. Now, I've learned to give myself a window, even just 30 minutes, to think. Just think. Let your mind be quiet. Sometimes I sit with a coffee and stare out the window. That's not laziness, that's clarity. That's where my best decisions come from. I don't meditate in the typical way, but I do sit with hard questions every morning, like, what's the most important problem I need to solve today? Not the most urgent, the most important. I use what I call time anchoring. You take your one most important action and you anchor it at the same time every day, no matter what. For me, that might be a meeting with engineering or an hour of design. For you, it could be journaling, reading, learning to code. Doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it happens at the same time, in the same place, no matter how you feel. That's how you train identity into your nervous system. That's how you become the person who does the thing, even when it's raining, even when you're tired, even at 67. Most people lose their entire day in the first hour. Why? Because they check their phone, scroll, worry, compare, and then react to 20 things that aren't even their priorities. I used to do that too. Now I build a first win into every morning. For me, it's writing down one clear decision I'll make. It could be approve that engineering change, cancel that project, say no to that media interview. That small decision creates momentum, and momentum is a powerful substitute for motivation. So let me ask you again, what did you do this morning in the first hour? What was your first win? Drop it in the comments, I really want to know. And if it didn't go well, that's okay. But be honest, and tomorrow try anchoring one thing at the same time. Just one. Let's build this together. I'll walk you through more in this interaction. If you're 65, 75, or 83, you may feel like your best years are behind you, but that's just bad math. If you live another 10 years and you start every day with clarity, purpose, and progress, that's over 3,650 mornings, 3,650 chances to reinvent, rebuild, and rise. That's not too late. That's enough time to build a legacy. The best founders I've seen in the past 3 years, some of them are over 70. One woman started a robotics company at 68. Another gentleman launched a clean energy startup at 73. What changed? Their mornings. I used to hit snooze a lot until I realized something. When you snooze, you train your brain that your word means nothing. You tell yourself, I'll get up at 7, then hit snooze 3 times. That's not about sleep. That's about identity. You're practicing delay. You're rehearsing avoidance. So now, I keep the phone in another room. I put my shoes near the door. I make it easy to follow through. Because when you win that first promise of the day, you walk differently. You make eye contact with life again. I'm going to show you exactly why most people, no matter how smart or capable, burn out by noon. You'll learn how I structure my work blocks, decision cycles, and break zones so I don't crash mentally. If you've ever felt exhausted before lunch, what I reveal next will explain why and how to fix it permanently. Your morning is the first vote you cast for the life you want. The next 24 hours is yours. Don't give it away. You ever wonder why some days you wake up with good intentions, but by 11:30 a.m., you feel like your brain is fried, and the rest of the day feels like you're just trying to survive? That used to be me. I had SpaceX meetings at 9, Tesla factory calls at 10, and legal problems by noon. And by 1 p.m., I was already mentally exhausted. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't protect my brain the way I protect a rocket launch. Today, I'm going to show you how to never burn out before noon again. Most people don't burn out because they worked hard. They burn out because they made too many small decisions that didn't matter. What to wear, what to eat, which tab to click, whether to reply now or later. Decision fatigue is real, and it quietly drains your executive function. That's why I wear the same style of clothes every day. I don't want my brain making 17 tiny decisions before it gets to the real ones. You don't need more caffeine. You need fewer pointless choices. Here's what I do. I chunk my day into mission blocks. Not tasks, not to-dos, missions. That means from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., I'm solving one big thing. No meetings, no emails, no context switching, just focused output on one core problem. If I do that right, that's 80% of the day's value in 2 hours. Multitasking looks impressive, but neurologically, it's like stopping and restarting a train every 60 seconds. Every time you switch tasks, you pay a cognitive tax. That tax accumulates. It's why most people get brain fog by noon. Not because they're weak, but because they've switched gears 70 times already. I don't want to burn glucose on context switching. I want to burn it on building Mars rockets. You should burn it on your legacy, not on inbox juggling. When I feel mental drain starting, I do 3 things. 1, I stand up and walk. Even 5 minutes. 2, I breathe through my nose, 4 seconds in, 6 out. 3, I change my input. That means no screen, no phone, just a different type of stimulation, nature, silence, or human conversation. Then I return to work, not for 8 hours straight, for another 45-minute mission block. I work in cycles, not marathons. That's how I stay sharp. Where are you draining energy right now? Is it on decisions that don't matter? Notifications? Constant switching between tabs, roles, apps, and people? I want you to drop your answer in the comments. And if you don't know yet, just write this. I'm going to protect my mission blocks starting tomorrow. That's your first psychological firewall. People always ask me for productivity hacks. But the truth is, the biggest hack is having boundaries that don't move. I don't take meetings before 10 a.m. I don't open emails until I've solved one hard problem. I say no 90% of the time. Not because I'm antisocial, because I'm protecting the only currency that matters. Clarity. Burnout doesn't start in your calendar. It starts when your clarity is interrupted. If you protect that, your energy stays full longer than you think. Now, here's the part most people miss. Even if you get your mornings right, even if you protect your brain and block distractions, life will still throw you off. So I'm going to show you exactly how I recover when everything falls apart. When a rocket explodes, when a company loses billions, when critics go viral, I'll break down the mental system I use to stay on track even when the mission looks like it failed. Burnout isn't about working too much. It's about working without clarity. Start protecting your mental fuel because we're going to hit turbulence, and I'll show you how to fly through it. There's a moment that breaks most people. It's not when they fail once. It's when they give everything and the world still spits in their face. When the launch fails, when your startup runs out of money, when people you trusted laugh, leave, or sue you. I've been there. I remember sitting in a Tesla factory lot at midnight, nothing working, payroll overdue, cars not delivering, media attacking. I asked myself, what if I fail everything I ever believed in? What I did next changed everything. Most people think failure is sudden, but failure builds silently, like rust under steel. You don't fail when the company goes bankrupt. You fail months earlier when you stop believing you could solve it. I call this silent surrender. It happens when we tell ourselves, it's not worth it. I don't care anymore. This isn't even my dream. And we pretend that's peace. But really, that's the beginning of self-erasure. There's a 10-minute window after crisis hits. That defines whether I spiral or rise. In that moment, I do exactly 3 things. 1, name what just happened with brutal honesty, no spin. 2, write down one line. What would the version of me 10 times smarter than this do right now? 3, take a small, irreversible action in the right direction. I don't wait to feel better. I move, even if it's an inch, because collapse is magnetic and motion breaks the field. It's one thing to fail privately. It's another to fail in front of the world. When the Falcon 1 exploded, when the media called Tesla a scam, when investors laughed behind closed doors, I didn't argue. I didn't tweet clapbacks. I accepted this rule. If you're going to play a historic game, you must be okay being humiliated in public, not because you want it, but because it comes with the territory. And if you can survive public shame, you're unstoppable. When I'm in chaos, I follow a 3-level rebuild stack. Level 1, physical anchor, I reset my body. Cold shower, heavy breathing, movement. Level 2, logical ladder, I write the 5 dumbest reasons this could end and then counter them. Level 3, identity reminder, I reread a note I wrote years ago. I'm not building this to feel safe. I'm building this to make humanity multiplanetary. I will die building it if I must. That note saved me during the worst nights. Right now, I want you to write one sentence. When it all falls apart, I will. Not if. When, because collapse comes for everyone building something that matters. Post your sentence in the comments, or keep it in your phone, but write it. It'll be the only voice left when the noise comes. So now you've survived collapse. You're still breathing. You haven't quit. But here's the twist. That's still not the finish line. The people who win at the highest level don't just survive. They transcend. I'm going to show you the exact moment I flipped the switch from barely surviving to building at an inhuman pace. Everything you've been through hasn't disqualified you. It trained you. Collapse didn't destroy you. It revealed you. I'm going to give you a blueprint. The exact protocol I use to achieve what most people believe is impossible. Doesn't matter your age. Doesn't matter if you're broke, burned out, or starting at zero. What matters is how you launch. And I'm going to show you how. I have 5 laws I follow before launching anything. Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink. These laws apply to you no matter what you want to build. Law 1. If it's not worth dying for, don't build it. I mean that literally. Every great outcome demands sacrifice. If the goal isn't big enough to suffer for, you'll quit when it gets hard. Law 2. Obsession beats intelligence. People think I'm smart, but what I really am is obsessed. I work 16 hours a day, not because I have to, because I can't stop thinking about it. Law 3. Make it real now, not perfect later. Launch ugly. If you wait to perfect your idea, you'll die with it. Law 4. Speed is your unfair advantage. Most people move like they're made of cement. If you want to beat them, move 5 times faster. Law 5. Solve one problem that actually matters. Not what's trendy, not what's easy, what's needed. That's how I built rockets. Not apps, rockets. You want to know what I would do if I were 50, broke, starting over? I'd follow what I call the 3-block day. 3 time blocks. That's all. Block 1, learn a skill no one can ignore. Coding, writing, selling, engineering. Block 2, build one thing every day. A prototype, a pitch deck, a demo. Block 3, send it to someone scary. Email a stranger. Post it publicly. Submit it somewhere that terrifies you. Do that for 90 days. You will be in the top 1% of action takers on this planet. And I promise the world cannot ignore that. People always ask me, how do you learn so fast? Here's the truth. I use a technique called semantic tree learning. I don't learn facts. I build trees. Learn the trunk first, the core principle, then add the branches, the details. That's how I learned rocket science. Not from college, but from reading textbooks, talking to engineers, and asking why 10 times in a row. That method you can use today. Doesn't matter if you're 70, doesn't matter if you failed school. All that matters is you keep asking why. You're not here watching this because you're average. You're here because something in you refuses to die quietly. And here's the truth. I believe in you. You may not have had support. You may not have money. You may not even know where to start. But I've seen what happens when one person refuses to stop building. It changes everything. It doesn't matter how old you are. Colonel Sanders started KFC at 65. The human brain can rewire itself into your 90s. I've seen janitors become millionaires. I've seen kids with no education build billion-dollar companies. So what's your excuse? And more importantly, what's your launch plan? If you've made it this far, you owe yourself something. In the comments right now, I want you to write, I'm launching whatever it is that you're going to launch, and I'm starting today. Fill in the blank. Doesn't matter if it's a YouTube channel, a fitness journey, a company, a second career, a retirement dream. You're not here to consume. You're here to create. So tell the world. Because this time, you're not quitting halfway. I remember the night before Falcon 1 launched. I didn't sleep. I walked alone. I was scared. I was broke. My kids were asleep. The world thought I was a clown. But I looked up at the sky and I